Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and those who watches this video. We are from group 5 here is going to explain regarding relative clauses. Here are the members of the group, consist of I Madya Denny Andi Putra, I Gede Wahyu Krisna Aditya, Kevin Dwi Pradana, Arlina Shintia Cayaningrum, Dinasti Hanggara Praja, I Komang Yogi Pratama Wedananta, and Wamalasari with its own student number. There. Okay. Let's start with relative clauses. A relative clause is one kind of dependent clause. It has a subject and verb, but can stand alone as a sentence. It is sometimes called an adjective clause because it functions like an adjective. It gives more information regarding a noun. A relative clause always begins with a relative pronoun, which substitutes for a noun phrase, or a pronoun when sentences are combined. The clause is divided into two, namely main clause and subclause. The first one is main clause. The main clause is a clause that can stand alone into a sentence. This clause has the subject plus verb pattern in its simplest form. Clause, which is also known as independent clause, can also contain modifier and verb predicate. Here is the pattern, which is subject plus verb. For example, I eat watermelon. In here, the I as a subject and eat as the verb. In writing, you can also provide a series of words to complete the main clause, such as I eat watermelon in the canteen. In the example sentence above, I eat is a series of subject plus verb, an object called watermelon, and a prepositional phrase in the canteen were added to make the clause more specific. Example. The sentence above is an example of a main clause because it is a complete statement. Subclause. Subclause is a clause that cannot stand alone into a sentence. Subclause are what can be referred to as a dependent clause must complete the main clause so that it can become a sentence. Here's the pattern, which is conjunction plus subject plus verb. For example, every day before I go to school. The example above is an example of a subclause or a dependent clause and is not a sentence. The example before I go is a conjunction plus subject plus verb pattern. However, it is not a complete idea or idea, and to become a sentence, you must join the main clause. Here's some example. The first one is every night before I go to school, I eat watermelon. I eat watermelon every day before I go to school. In here, the every night before I go to school is the subclause, where the sentence I eat watermelon is the main clause. I eat watermelon every day is the main clause, and before I go to school is the subclause. Types of subclause. Subclause has different types and is split into 3 types according to their function. That is, the first one is adjective clause, noun clause, and adverbial clause.
I will continue this presentation. Adjective clause. Adjective clause is a subclause that functions as an adjective to explain the noun or pronoun that was before and form a series of noun parses so that the adjective clause is called of modifier. While the thing previously described is called an antecedent. Adjective clause will generally always be followed by the following word. Pronoun. That where, who, whom, which. Adverb: when, where, and why. Example: the girl whom you meet is kind. Next, type of adjective clause. A. Relative pronouns. The first, relative pronoun, a subject, who subject pronoun for people. Example: I told you about the woman who lives next door. Which, subject pronoun for animal and things. Example: do you see that cat which is lying on the roof? That, subject pronoun for people, animal, and thing in defining relative clause. Who or which are also possible. Example: the man that I met on the bus today worked at the World Bank. Next. Second, relative pronoun as object. The first, which, object pronoun for animal and things. Example is, this is the house which he has just bought. Second, that, object pronoun for people, animal, and things in defining relative clause. Who or which are also possible. Example is, I don't like the table that stands in the kitchen. Whom, object pronoun for people or animal that are mentioned by name and seen as person. Example is, the witness whom I interview gave conflicting evidence. Okay, that's all about the material in the presentation, and the will continue is my friend. Thank you.
Number 3. Relative pronoun as possessive. Whose can be used for people, animals, or things. Sometimes for things in formal situation. Example: the man whose daughter won the tournament is a tennis coach. B. Using quantity and quality. Number 1. Quantity. Example: some of, one of, several of. Number 2. Quality. Example: the best of, the cheapest of, the most luxurious of. C. Relative adverb. Number 1. Relative adverb of place, where the meaning in or at which refers to a place. Example: the place where we met him. Number 2. Relative adverb of time, when in or on which refers to a time expression. Example: the day when we met him. Number 3. Relative adverb of reason, why for which refers to a reason. Example: the reason why we met him.
Okay, I will continue to explain the material. I start from understanding the noun clause material. What is the noun clause? Noun clause is a subclass that functions as a noun in a sentence that is a position as the subject, direct object, indirect object, object of preposition, subject complement, or a positive. Noun clause can come from example, I know where she teaches. I as a subject, know as verb, where a conjunction, see a subject, teaches a verb, and where she teaches as an object. Next, types of noun clause. Next, the first noun clause from statement. This noun clause comes from the statement sentence. and the conjunction used to make it is that. Example sentence: Woody is sleepy. Non-clause: that Woody is sleepy. And next, second, non-clause from question. Non-clause from question, we can use the question word who, what, when, where, why, and how. The grammar is question word plus subject plus verb. Examples: who she kissed is not important, and what I ate made me ill. Okay, the next material will be delivered by my friend.
Okay, I will continue the material from my friends. The material that I will bring is about noun clause from request. At the conjunction that at the beginning of the sentences to form a subclause. In the subclause, always use verb 1 regardless of the form of the subject and this tense use. Noun clause is request formula. For the verbal positive, the formula is that plus subject plus verb 1. For the passive positive, the formula is that plus subject plus be plus verb 3. And from nominal positive, the formula is that plus subject plus be plus subjective complement. For negative formula, just add not. The example is, Jack suggests that Brian get married soon. It is important that the student be diligent, and this obligation that she return the book is important. The next material is noun clause from exclamation. The noun clause is generated from the exclamatory sentences, has its own pattern, usually using how or what. Below are two formulas. The first formula is how plus adjective or adverb plus subject plus verb. The second formula is what plus a or an plus adjective plus noun singular plus subject plus verb. The example of sentences noun clause from exclamation is, I don't think how expensive this book is. And I don't think what an expensive this book is. That was the material from me. The next material will be delivered by my friends.
Types of adverbial clause. Adverbial clause of condition. Adverbial clause of condition tells about the circumstance under which something happens. An adverb of condition sets condition for the main idea to come into effect. The clause usually uses the word if whether, provided that, so long as, and unless. Example: if I like it, I will buy it. You will be short unless you give me the keys of the locker. You will have to take the medicine whether you like it or not. 2. Adverbial clause of manner. Adverbial clauses of manner show us how something happens. The clause usually uses the word like, as though, or as if. Example: she looked as though she was in pain. Ryan walked past as if he hadn't seen us. He talked to me like I was a child. 3. Adverbial clause of comparison. Clauses of comparison are used to compare things or ideas. An adverb of degree states to what degree something is done or over comparison. It answers the question how much, how little, how many. The clauses usually use the word as blank as, so blank as, the blank the, and then. Example: she is as intelligent as she is beautiful. You are later than I expect. She's not so intelligent as her sister. For ephemeral clause of time. Ephemeral clause of time tell us about when something happens or how often. The clause usually use the word after as long as soon as, before, no sooner than, since, until, whenever, when, or while. Example: I stopped running when I saw my friend. Annie gets excited whenever she sees a dog. I'll do my homework before I go back to school.
Now I'll explain the other types of adverbial clauses. And now the number 5 is adverbial clause of reason. So the function of this clause is indicating the reason in something. So it explains why something happens. And the words that usually used in this clause are because, since, as, and given. For example, Luna gets a present because she worked hard during her presentation. I can't stop loving her since my heart already fell for her. Number 6 is adverbial clause of contrast. The function of this clause is indicating difference or contrast of idea with the main sentence, and the clause usually use words like though, although, even though, whereas, and even if. For example, though he had the money, he couldn't bring himself to pay. Bella refused to pay her cabby, even though the cashier already asked her for the money. And number 7 is adverbial clause of purpose. And the function of this clause is indicating the purpose of something. And the words that usually use are in order to, so that, in order that, and in case. For example, the construction the building is postponed so that the worker can go home for Eid holiday. Mother left a note for Ethan in case he forgets to water the plant in the afternoon. Number 8 is adverbial clause of result or effect. Clause or sorry for the incomplete sentence. So this clause tells us about a consequence. So it tells about consequence of something that have happened, and the word that are usually used are that, so blah 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 that, so that, and such blah 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 that. Uh, Examples: the famine was severe that thousands perished. They fought so bravely that the enemy fled. And the last one is adverbial clause of place, and this is so easy. Adverb clauses of place tells us about where something happens, and the words that usually used are everywhere, anywhere, where, or wherever. And there are some examples. Wherever I go, I always see a McDonald's restaurant. I'm not sure where she lives. We meet kind people everywhere we went. So that's all our explanation about relative clauses, and we hope that you can catch the point and what we have to say, and we hope can understand the materials. So thanks for watching, and thank you. Goodbye.